Hi there, I'm James Crook and I'm a business coach for massage therapists. I also ran my own digital marketing agency for around 13 years. And what I want to share with you today is something that I learned during that time, which is around online booking software. What is the best online booking software for you as a therapist? Now, it's actually not an easy question to answer because every therapist is different and the needs you have and your clients will have are actually different as well. If you've ever looked out there at booking software, you'll see there's hundreds, I would say literally hundreds of different options out there for things that you can use as booking software. And the main things that you want to look at are going to be slightly different to what someone else wants to look at. So what I would suggest you do is actually write a little list yourself, write down what are the things that are most important to me from booking software, write the list, and then go and look at some of the most popular booking softwares that are out there and just compare, just to see if they actually fulfill your criteria. Now, the really common ones that you are going to want to make sure that it does do is that it does take easy online booking so that you can put a button on your website and on Facebook. People can click and then they can book in. Now, you might think that's obvious, but some of these more random bits of software that are out there don't make it that easy. So make sure it's really easy for a client to click through. You also want to make sure you can set the times that you're available, the lengths of treatments that you're doing, and have people be able to easily choose, whether they want, if you've got different modalities, they might want to choose whether they're choosing remedial or relaxation or Reiki or whatever else it is, and just pick from a list and go forth and then select that as what it is that they're booking. You also want to make sure that it's something they can do a booking without having to pay online, because some of the things that are booking software are designed not just for massage therapists but across different industries as well, and a lot of those will have payment actually happening online at the same time. We see some booking software that is set up for clinics, so they're the ones that will have multiple rooms, multiple staff, and then others that are set up more for individual therapists, where you've just got one calendar and one person who you're booking in with. So whatever it is that you need to be looking for, just be aware of all the different things that you want to get out of software, and then go and have a look. Ask for advice. We have a support network, the Massage Business Support Network on Facebook, which is a free group on Facebook, and this question comes up all the time. So if you want some advice, you can jump into a group like that and just literally ask other therapists what they're using, and they'll be able to give you advice about the things that they find fit really, really well for them. Now, at the moment, I can tell you that there's a couple that are really popular for the clinic end. We've got Clinico itself and Power Diary. And then if you start looking at just individual therapist ends, there's one called Timely, which is very popular, and Schedule, which is spelled S-H-E-D-U-L. Schedule, the web spelling, is very popular at the moment because it's free to set up right now and even does free SMS reminders. So that's got a lot of traction in our group at the moment with people recommending it. But whatever it is, make sure that it's the right fit for you, because there are so many different options there. You don't want to go down the track of setting one up, then realise something else would have been better. Make your criteria, weigh them all up, and then jump in, give it a go, and figure out which one's going to work for you and your business.
Hi, I'm Steve from Rock Tape. We're going to show you an application for shin splints or medial shin pain. So typically the pain will be felt along the inside edge of the shin here. So we're going to measure our tape to cover that area of the shin. Cut the length of tape we want. We'll put the two ends together around the corners so they don't get caught on clothing or towels or bed sheets. We need to put the part on stretch. So for the tibialis posterior muscle here, we're going to put the foot up and out, and we're going to start the tape on the outside edge of the ankle, just underneath the ankle bone, without any stretch, and then come around the inside of the ankle over the ankle bone, and then apply it up along the inside edge of the shin, and no stretch on the last bit of the tape. Typically this will be the area of most symptoms, so we're going to use a short piece of tape, again rounded off the corners. With this one we're going to tear the backing paper in the middle, and X marks the spot, the foot's still on stretch. Where the painful part is, we apply a little bit of stretch in the middle, no stretch on either end. and then let the foot relax, and we get the area of the most symptoms unloaded by the tape.
I think there's always going to be a future risk in when government do reviews. This review started in 2013, so that's 5 years ago. There's been plenty of notice for modalities and therapists to get their heads around this whole process. So really what's happened is that the report that came out in 2015, the government's now implemented that with the private health insurance funds. They won't accept rebates for some modalities. We were fortunate enough to keep massage and myotherapy in, and that was predominantly based on the quality of the data that we provided, the research that we provided, and the ongoing education that we did with government in the last 4 years. So if people stopped lobbying at the end of that process, they've had a 4-year gap where government haven't heard from them. They've been silent. And I think that's been the problem, that you've got to maintain your education program with government. It's not about waiting till something happens and then having a reaction. It's not about having a campaign all of a sudden, or a survey or a poll or whatever. It's too late. The horse is out of the gate. It's gone. You've got to get your sweet hay back into the shed and find your horse and get it back in. So it's about keeping continual education for government, not threatening them, not bullying them, but getting them to come on side in collaboration with organisations. And I think now, as a go-to, we keep government informed quarterly of our activities, of what the industry's doing, and I think that's paid off for members and for keeping massage and myotherapy in the rebate system. So why should therapists attend conference? Look, it doesn't matter who you are. A lot of our therapists operate in isolation, and it doesn't matter who's speaking, what the workshops are. You can walk away from conference always learning something from a workshop or a speaker, or even from another therapist. It is one of the best networking events that we have here in Australia, I think, for therapists. It is such great fun. To see people reunite after a 12-month lapse of not even seeing each other. They insist on sitting with each other again at dinner. Just that whole community and inclusiveness of all the modalities and all the different types of practice coming together in one place is the best celebration the industry can have. I think people expect a lot out of conference for the cost that we try and get it out, but we do work very hard to keep the cost as low as we can for the quality of the product that's actually there.
So tip number 1, work with the whole person rather than treating anatomy. It's very easy for us to slip into a mechanical way of thinking when we're working with clients. For most of us, we've gone through a pretty thorough education in musculoskeletal anatomy, and then we learn a lot of biomechanics and biomechanical models. For this reason, when we start to work with people, we use language like treating a particular part of the body. And we can become very focused on that bit of anatomy. When we're doing it, we're probably thinking about a muscular attachment or a bone or a joint in our mind, and we're targeting that tissue and wanting to affect a change. This has been the conventional wisdom in our field for a long time, but the research is becoming very, very clear. We very often have a little impact on that tissue directly. Think about the human body for a moment. When someone's running, jumping, lifting, carrying, throwing, the forces that go through the human body are well in excess of what we do with massage. And the body doesn't generally get torn, damaged, or stressed when performing these activities. Now, there's absolutely times when this does happen, but when you think about injuries, they're probably quite traumatic events. Someone falls on you, you twist something rather rapidly, it's a lot of force required to really change your body tissues. So what we're learning through the research now is that it's actually about the way your body responds to your touch. This is largely driven by the nervous system, and then it drives down into the body systems such as the endocrine, the motor control system, the muscle tone of our body. These things are affected and changed through the person's nervous system. And so it's not something that we do directly with our pressure. So start to now shift your thinking a little bit into a model that's more about how can I create the right sort of stimulus for change rather than making the change yourself. And you'll find that your treatment paradigm really does shift, and you can start to focus on whole people rather than just part of their anatomy.
Hi, my name is Lisa Pratt. I'm the founder of Maddie Talent Studio. Maddie is a consultancy and we specialise in two key areas. So the first one is Maddie Recruit. So we particularly work with small to medium-sized businesses to help them search for talent. So that might mean sharpening their brand in terms of being able to attract the right people to their business, and also providing part and full recruitment services. The other area is Maddie Coach, where we work with talented individuals to help elevate their profile, their brand, and to be the best version of themselves. So we work with them on their resume, career coaching, their LinkedIn profile, and personal branding. So I've been in the recruitment industry for 15 years, predominantly in senior leadership roles, working across small to medium-sized businesses. So I really got an understanding of how to use marketing tools to grow and build a business. So when I started Maddie, obviously I wanted to use my recruitment and coaching skills, but what was really interesting was particularly when it came to our service around LinkedIn profiles and personal branding, I found that small business owners were the ones who were taking up that service the most. So for example, I recently worked with the director of an acupuncture clinic, and she asked me to work on her personal branding, and we focused on the marketing of her business as well as her LinkedIn profile, so she could attract new clients to her business but also gain the trust and repeat business with her current clients. Building those networks and relationships is really vital. In small business, we don't have a big budget to throw at PR and marketing, so we all know that a referral program is a really great way to build our business. So in terms of networks, I think it's really key to build a relationship with about 4 to 5 practitioners who are in the same space as you, or complementary services, so that they can then refer business to you. And I think in terms of business connections, it's really good for you to have networks with people who have the same business as you, so that when you have challenges around how to grow your business or even issues with your staff, you've got someone else that you can bounce those ideas off, and have that support network as well. So creating social media pages for your business is really important. 2 key reasons why. The first one is I think that it's imperative that you create a social media page for your business across every platform. So Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it is. Even if you're not going to use that platform. Reason being is imagine if like a competitor or a disgruntled employee or an angry customer decided to create that page under your brand name and push out content that you weren't doing, that your customers thought was you, and that could be really damaging for your brand. The second reason is that social media marketing is actually really cheap and easy to do marketing tool for your business. And as I was saying before, we don't have big budgets. So all it takes is time, a bit of creativity, but there's so much information you can find by Googling and getting ideas and inspiration. And what I'd also suggest you do is have a cheeky look at what your competitors are doing. Try and do something along the same lines, but put your own unique, authentic twist on it. So in terms of platforms for a therapist, I think what you need to do is have a look at who your target customer is. So if you're really targeting the younger demographic, so maybe the early 20s up to mid-30s, Instagram is your platform. If you're looking at mid-30s and older, you'll be looking at Facebook. The other thing is I know there's a lot of therapists who want to get into that corporate wellness program and you want to be targeting more the professional world and corporate HR people. That's when you want to have a profile on LinkedIn, not only a personal profile, but set yourself up a company page as well. Your personal social media page is where you're putting photos of your family, your dog, what you had at the breakfast at the cafe. It's not your professional platform. So you then want to have your own professional platforms on social media where you're being thought of as a thought leader, where you're building trust with your customers and clients and offering incentives, giveaways, programs, inspiration to build those relationships. So personal branding, I think the best thing to do is to ask yourself, does my online brand match my offline brand? So what I mean by that is when someone researches you or your organisation online, and when they actually meet you and have the service that you provide, do they have the same perception and reality? Does it meet? So if online you looked fabulous and professional and authentic and real, but when they met with you, they had a completely different experience, they're going to go and tell people about that. So you want to make sure the two correlate and match. So make sure that you have a really good think about how you want to be perceived, what your values are, what your ethics are, even down to your branding colours, and you make sure that's spread across your social media platforms. So in terms of a personal brand, the first thing I do would be, let's start with reactionary. So I would Google your name and your company and see what's out there in internet land and how you're being perceived and make adjustments where you can. The second thing I would do is set up a Google alert, again for your name and company, so future-proofing yourself. When things go through, you can see what's being said about you and address that. The third thing I would do is what I mentioned before, have a really good think and set out a strategy around how you want to be perceived when someone walks in the front door of your business, someone has a treatment with you, and then how someone sees you online. And just make sure that they're all connecting in terms of the message that you're sending out. So for example, if your branding is blue and green, don't set up a beautiful Instagram page that's pink and grey. If you are all about dealing with corporates and you want to have that really corporate feel, don't have stuff on your social media that is the opposite of that and is too casual. So just have a think about who your target market is and that your brand is consistent across that personal branding space. You obviously make sure you've got a Google profile set up and you go in there and literally you just type in Google alert and it says what do you want to be alerted on, and I type in Lisa Pratt or Maddie Talent Studio and it sets up alerts. So if anything gets pushed out there, if someone wrote a bad review about me or an article about me, my name was featured and it picked up on Google, an email comes through to the email address that I set up for my Google plan, and I'll get notified of that. When students are graduating, I really would have hoped that at some point they would have done some kind of work experience or internship, something where they could get a bit of an understanding of some real life experience so they could put that on their resume. So I think in terms of their resume, because they won't have a long work history, they need to really push out their things like any volunteering they've done, any things they went above and beyond and did in school or through their studies, just to prove they have a really strong work ethic and what your value system is. So make sure that your resume is highlighting the best parts of you and what you want to do for your next role. So when a therapist is compiling a resume, the first thing for anybody I'd say is don't put a photo on it. That's very old-fashioned. Just start with your basic contact details. I think it's really important to have a summary up the top which outlines what your purpose is, what you want to achieve, what kind of organisation you want to work for, and I would suggest tailoring that slightly to each type of role that you apply for so that it's almost targeted to the potential future employer. Then obviously listing your jobs in chronological order from most recent to furthest away. Obviously putting in there your qualifications, your skills, and I think it's also a nice touch at the end to put hobbies and interests in, especially if they're in that holistic wellness space. I would not put referees on there at all. I would put references as per request, because sometimes an employer might be looking for somebody you reported to, or somebody who was on the same level as you, or a client. So you don't know who they're going to want, so don't anticipate it, just put references upon request. So if you found yourself, you're in what you thought was your dream role, and you are finding that the environment is not living up to expectations, I think there's a couple of steps that you can take. So the first most important one is to be having regular communications with your manager. So asking them for a sit down. It could be informal, so let's go for a coffee and have a chat, or if it's quite serious, you'd say, can I have a meeting, and propose a time, and really outlining that you're unhappy, making it not personal, so really having some facts there, a facts-based conversation, and talking about what your expectations were of coming into the organisation, what they had told you it was going to be, and what the reality is, and seeing if there is a way that there can be some changes made. Unfortunately, I would say if changes aren't made over time, then I think for you, you've actually identified that this organisation isn't the right culture fit for you, and it's time to move on and start the job hunt.